friends, you're listening to episode number 48 of the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart. Know someone in the first responders line of work? Married to a first responder? Oftentimes, we as civilians don't realize the emotional toll being a first responder takes on our friends in the line of duty. But y'all, depression, anxiety, PTSD are all things that can be a problem for these amazing people who put themselves out there for our well-being. Today, I get to talk to Irene Elbie, Alaskan mom and wife who has changed her whole marriage, to a Leo by the way, by healing her own heart and learning to be more compassionate and loving. Now she is taking what she's learned to help other Leos and first responder couples. She's the soul behind the Facebook group, The Strength Beside the Badge, and she's going to tell us all about how this all came about for her and how it's changed her family. Let's dive in. You're listening to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart. Audacity is defined by Merriam-Webster as intrepid boldness or disregard for normal constraints. And that's exactly what we have here. The Live with Audacity podcast is aimed at giving you the courage to explore your someday dreams, do things your way, and start making things happen in your life right now. I'm a mama to 4 kiddos ranging from college student to kindergartner, wife to a high school football and track coach, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Together with my guests, we're going to teach you how to live with audacity and intentionality, discover and utilize your unique skills and talents, and step into who you are meant to be in order to make your someday dreams a reality. Are you ready? Here we go. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning back into the Live with Audacity podcast. I am so excited about today's episode because I have the incredible Irene Elbie on, and today we are going to talk about being a law enforcement spouse and how she can help people really support their spouse and kind of where all of this came from and why it's so important to her. So Irene, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel very excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. I think obviously because we connect and I really enjoy your presence and being around you, but also because this is such a touchy subject and a very important one. I know lots of people in law enforcement, and I know that this can kind of be a struggle for people. A, being a spouse, B, all of the things that law enforcement officers have to go through and see. And, you know, I'm sure it's really difficult for spouses to know the best way to support their spouse that's in law enforcement. And, you know, so I'm really excited to have you here so that we can talk about that and figure out how they can best support them. So tell us a little bit about your journey and kind of how this started to become the thing that you were passionate about.
Okay, well, it all started because I was done. I was on the brink of, calling it quits. And
as far as work or marriage?
No,
or
as
what?
far as my marriage was concerned.
Got it.
I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do that. I knew I had to do something to change myself because nothing around me was going to change. And I knew I had to get that. I had to do something because what I was doing was not working. And I didn't want to go that route. And so, I started investing in myself, and I started learning about myself, and I started learning about my mindset and where, what I was taught to believe and all of those untrue beliefs that I had. And once I started figuring that out about myself, it made me realize what I was doing to trigger all of these things that were happening. And so learning about myself was the key that I needed to better understand why, you know, we were having so many arguments and why I couldn't like just be quiet. Why I always had to like, like defend myself basically, so, and it's tough. Yeah. So that's where this came from. This group anyway, that I have. And so, because I know, oh, did you want to ask a question?
No, I was just listening to kind of your story. So where did you start? Where did you start as far as your personal development, and like what were the steps that you took? Because I know that oftentimes we talk about personal development here, and we talk about, diving into your past and trying to recover from, different traumas and things like that we've not that we've all been through. We haven't all been through the same thing, but we've all been through stuff that we need to deal with. And so where did you start? Like how did you get this process started?
I think it really started for me when my younger brother passed away 3 years ago.
Okay.
I think that's when it like something inside me was just like, I'm not gonna live like this with bitterness in my heart, you know, because the way our family dynamic, the way we grew up, which was, like a lot of stories, it was not a good childhood. And so I think when he passed away, I I saw the way my siblings were to each other, and we were so far apart away from each other, like emotionally, mentally, physically, even. I'm in Alaska, everybody's in Texas or in Colorado. So we never really had like a really deep relationship, with anybody,
Mm-hmm.
any of us. So I think then, so that was like 3 years ago. And then, so that happened, and I started thinking, something different. And so I quit my job. I was fed up with my job. So when I came back from his funeral, I started taking steps to leave, like to be done with where I was, because that was a very toxic environment. It was a very high stress environment. I worked in the child protection section, and
Oh
so
man.
yeah, so that was, and we terminated parental rights. And so that was really like, that had a lot of trauma exposure.
Right.
And so and so everyone in that place it was just bad. It was like,
Yeah.
no, it was bad. No support. Nobody helped each other. Everybody was like pissed off. Everybody was jaded. If a new person came in, it was like, they feed them to the sharks. They just like stand back with their arms crossed and see if they can swim. So
Oh
it was kind of
my.
like that environment. And I was there for 5 years. And so, and then, so there's a big backstory. I don't know if you want to hear all of it, but
I want to hear it all.
I had my third son when I was 42, and so he's 3 now. And working and having him, so I worked for a whole year after he was born. I went back to work, and so that was breaking me, because he was not sleeping, and
So you weren't
like he was.
sleeping.
So I wasn't sleeping, and my husband worked all the time, and he worked the night shift. So he wasn't even like there. and
Right.
so, it was so tough, because I was so sleep deprived. I was so fed up with work, and I was just like, I was cracking. So I talked to my husband. I'm like, look, something's got to give. I'm either
Yeah.
going to quit. I'm either going to quit home, or I'm going to quit the job.
Right.
And so that's where that came from.
Yeah.
And so I quit my job 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I stayed, to be at home with the baby. And so that was all good and that was great and that was awesome. But like after a month of being home, after working my whole life since I was 16, after a month of being home, I was like, what am I going to do now? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know what, so I was just like, okay, I'll just take care of him. I'll just be with him and that's it, right? That's what I'll do. I stopped
Yeah.
everything for me. I stopped everything that had to do with me.
So,
Like,
how did you develop this super passion for helping spouses be able to be a better support system for their Leo spouse?
so for me, it really had to do with, okay, and I don't know what everybody's situation is, but for me, it really helps to be able to understand some of the traumas that they endure. So for me, growing up the way I did was traumatic. Going through my life, the ride that I have taken, some of it has been very traumatic. And working in a place that I worked and was very there was a lot of trauma exposure, but I learned how to kind of cope with the trauma exposure that I would bring, I would carry it. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
still have images in my mind of
Mm-hmm.
some very bad things, and our husbands and our wives that are law enforcement or military or whatever government of law enforcement that you're going to be in, they see some really messed up stuff. They have to deal with
Mm-hmm.
some really, really hard situations, you know, and it's traumatic. And then they end
Yeah.
up having PTSD. And so when they come home with all that stuff, and if you don't know how to diffuse that, you're just going to start fighting. There's just going to be arguments because they're going to take it out on you because they can, because you're easy, right? Because you're the wife or the husband. They're going to
Right.
take it
Well,
out on you.
and they know that you love them unconditionally, typically, and that you're a safe place, right, to dump all that
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And so they're just that, and anybody knows it. And it's not, I don't think it's, okay, for the marriage, the divorce rate in law enforcement community. I always hear like it's a high rate, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and then you look at the statistics and you look at other things and it's very difficult to deal with somebody going through something that they can't or won't talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
So I I don't know, but we I know that he has to talk it out. Like
Right.
I mean there's a lot of things that he can't tell me, but he can tell me how he feels. And
Right.
so I have to, like, it's like pulling teeth with him. you, you
As I'm
know,
sure it is with most husbands.
but I'm not going to quit because I don't want to quit. Like, I don't want to ever threaten that I want a divorce again. I don't ever want to
Mm-hmm.
say that ever again. And, since I started this journey and I really started learning how to have compassion because I didn't, I lost it somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
And so learning how to talk with him, learning how to listen to him and not always like think that he's like attacking me because of my past and
Mm-hmm.
my own triggers, trying to figure that out. It really made a huge difference in our communication. I mean, our
Totally.
communication, it's like, it's really cool. It's really cool. I'm so proud of us. And
I actually have
yeah.
the same, I have a similar experience too. And my husband and I were just talking about it last night is, um, a lot of times we, like you said, take our own experience that we've had and we relate it to what the person is saying to us in this moment. And we've really gotten a lot better at saying, here's how this came across to me. Is that really how you meant that? Because when you approach the situation and know that the person that you love and you're in marriage with, their typical way of doing things isn't just to come out and attack you or hurt you or anything like that. So if you understand that their MO, their motivation is not to do that. It is to be loving and care for you. If you can approach your conversations and your situations that way and say, this didn't sound like this. I felt like I was being attacked a little bit right here. What's going on? And, I've had those conversations with my husband and he's like, oh, shoot, no, like I really am just asking this question. I'm not trying to be condescending or, whatever. And so that has been really, really, really valuable too, is understanding their intention isn't to hurt you. It's, it just might be tone of voice, or it might just be something they went through that day or whatever. I think that's really valuable. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. Tell me a little bit about how you started shifting your mindset. Like, what are some of the things that you did at the beginning when you were, fed up with work, fed up with home, fed up with all the things? What are some steps that you took to start digging into that and, essentially rewiring your brain so that you could start to have a little bit more clarity about the way you approach situations?
So I heard this guy in October of 2017. Some reason he was on my newsfeed. And I never really heard of, Melissa, let me see. I'm 46 now. And I just learned about untrue and limiting beliefs like last year. Like that never even was like
Crossed your mind.
Right. Never. And I think to myself, I'm like, I'm a professional. I worked downtown for a long time. I have colleagues that are judges and lawyers and attorneys and doctors. And, I know I'm not under a rock. How come I never realized this before? I just don't know. Anyway, I heard this guy, his name's Gary Vaynerchuk.
I love him so much.
So I heard him in October of 2017 going on this rant about and I was still working, and he actually I heard his message at that exact moment, and that's when I wrote my 2 weeks notice. So he was like the last. He was like the microphone drop, he was like the last straw. And I heard him, and that's when I quit my job. But so in October of 2017, I really started looking into personal growth. And so, and then I saw this Netflix series, that I'm Not Your Guru, with Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my husband and we saw that, and that was, and that's when I was like, oh, I gotta see what this is about. And so then from there, I found KBB. I found Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins's course, for a blueprint for the knowledge business blueprint. And so I found that, and I started delving into that. And when I didn't even really I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I really didn't. I thought I was gonna, because I wanted to start my own business. I knew I didn't want to go back to work, not over there, and that was going to be the only place that I, could really make some good money. And I didn't want to go there, so I got a business course, an online business course, and thinking that, okay, I'm going to learn how to, open my own business, start my own business, find what it is that I really want to do. Cause that's what they said, that, will help you find and dig it out. And so I'm like, maybe I need that, and
Did it help with
that?
that?
Oh my gosh. like the first week I did one of their their tools that they use, and I had this breakthrough. I had like this, I call it a spiritual awakening.
I love that.
I do. My brother Julian, I was talking to him about it, and that's what he described it at. And I was like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. It was a spiritual awakening.
So
And
cool.
it was, yeah. And that was in October of 2019. And I just haven't stopped learning about, just stuff,
Yeah.
just stuff about, my
Your
mindset.
mindset and
Right.
personal
And
growth.
yes.
Yeah, it's so funny when you open that Pandora's box. Whoo, Lordy, it takes you on. It's like Alice in Wonderland, right? Like
Oh my
the
gosh.
path never stops. Like it's crazy.
It's been a wild ride. It definitely has, especially with people who don't like get it.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I've lost a couple of friends, and you know, it's been a wild ride.
So, what is one thing you wish you would have had the courage to do sooner?
I wish I would have had the capacity, the understanding to humble myself and listen. You know,
That's good.
I was so my ego, I was so tough. You know, I thought I was so strong, and I was so tough because of what I've had, you know, been through, what I've overcome, and I wasn't, because I was not listening to anything that would have changed my situation on how I was feeling inside. And so I wish I would have listened like 30 years
Oh,
ago.
I love that. But no, but that's so important to point out, right? Is like we can float on through this life and, you know, be headstrong and focused on who we think we are and, you know, fighting the world, right? But if we just, like you said, humble ourselves to listen to people that A, want to help us, and B, can help us, man, it's so empowering, and you can totally change your whole life. So I love that you pointed that out. Oh man, I love that. That's good. What is one thing you would tell someone who is just getting started in developing themselves to start a business, but they're not totally sure? They know they want to start a business, but they're not totally sure what they want it to be about or how to go about it.
Oh man, I would suggest probably like first I would tell them you need to buy KBB. You need to buy that course, because that's really all you need. That's really all I needed.
Yeah.
But just try. I would meditate. Meditation has been awesome for me. But I would say just humble yourselves to think a little differently. You know, that just because you know, you didn't think it, or just because somebody else is doing that thing that you really don't like, I mean, just have an open mind about looking into yourself. Nobody wants to look in themselves. Nobody. Like
Nobody.
I did not want to face what I had been running from my whole life. There was no way that was going to happen.
Totally.
And so
that's good.
yeah, so it's like I had to stop running. I had to face what it was that was killing me inside. And
yeah, and I think
I found it.
I think too, it's important to point out that we are really good at, as a people, as general humans, we are really good at making all of our problems somebody else's fault and playing the victim, right? And I definitely think when you start getting into personal growth and development, you really start to realize like, oh, I might be part of the problem too. And like you said, that's really hard to admit. That's really hard to look inside of yourself to to pull those things out and be like, oh crap, that's something I've been struggling with. And, we don't ever want to admit it because society likes to devour us when we are vulnerable or show weakness, so we're really taught, I think, to put that wall up and be like, nope, I don't have any weaknesses, I'm so strong, I'm so whatever. And that's so detrimental to our growth and our happiness in the long run. So that was good. I'm glad you pointed that out too.
Yes, it's true. Yeah. The vulnerable coming from, especially if you come from an environment or a family that is like, punishes you for being vulnerable or showing your vulnerability. I mean, of course you're going to have that solid wall up.
Yeah.
Until you realize it. But yeah, that's awesome.
That's good. So obviously, there's no such thing as failure unless you give up, which is what we've learned on our journeys, right? But tell me about a time where it felt like a failure at the time, but you've turned it around and now it's either a success or it's something that you've learned from.
Let's see, a failure. Okay, so yeah, I think a big part of my low spots were when I got fired from a job, and so, and then I had never, like, it felt like a death,
I bet.
and so, and it was I loved it, but if I would have known, but it was me, like a lot of that was me. But if that hadn't happened, like I wouldn't be here right now where I want to be. And I know that I don't want to put myself in an environment where it's going to break me again. So I know exactly what I don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Tell us what has been your biggest risk in life, and how did it turn into a win?
Oh, let's see. My biggest risk in life. Oh man, there's so many.
You can just pick one. It didn't have to be the biggest.
So I think it was when I finally decided to, I was married once before. And so, I think when I decided to leave, definitely that was my biggest risk. I drove from Alaska to Texas in 6 days. And so, that
Holy
was
cow.
a big, that was a big risk that I took. That was a huge risk.
And what did you get out of it?
Let's see, what did I get out of it? I got out of it two very, I think, well-grounded, level-headed sons from that marriage. Now my ex-husband and I, we have a very cordial and loving and respectful relationship with each other.
Awesome.
Because we know how important it was, because of what we saw growing up, how important it was to not get that, mixed up with our kids, so that way they can have a good upbringing, even though we were going to be divorced.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from him, from my ex-husband, and
from divorce.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That was really tough. So.
Okay, so real quick, I want to touch on your Facebook group. It is called The Strength Beside the Badge, which I so super totally love. I know a lot of times, like you pointed out to me earlier, I didn't want to do behind the badge because you should be, as spouses to each other, you should be walking alongside of each other. And so I just love that you chose that word, beside the badge. I think that is so great. So tell us a little bit about what we can find in the group.
So in the group, I have some. It's kind of like, I guess, just discussions or things that come up in an everyday relationship that you have with your LEO. So, like what happens during the academy and how you can help him to better to be there and to be present, and because it's tough being in the academy when you first start out, and that's where I met my husband, was when he had first started in the academy. So it's going from there, and it's going to like field training and what's involved with that. And a lot of wives and a lot of husbands, the spouses, they don't know what they go through, because a lot of times they won't tell them. The spouses will come home and they'll just be either dead tired, or just something bad happened that day, or they just can't share it for some reason. So then that's when that disconnection starts to grow. And then and so like different seasons, I guess, that your LEO has, not only in work but at home too. Like when you do have a baby or start a family, and how hard it is, especially if you're both working. And I mean, so there's just a lot of things that I put in there that helped me with what I was going through. And so, yeah, I'd like to share that, because it's, a lot of people don't talk about those pains that the spouses have and the spouses endure, because they just don't know how to deal with their spouse.
I love that. I love it so much, because everyone needs a place to be able to be themselves and to communicate and be in community with other people that are going through the similar stuff. So I think your group is going to be phenomenal. And I am excited to see what you do with it. And of course, I will drop the link in the show notes. Let's do a quick rapid fire. What is a book, article, person, or talk that has changed your life?
Oh, man. Okay, so I guess.
Sounds like Gary Vaynerchuk, was it?
Well, he was one of my very first influencers, I guess. Yeah. But I was thinking of a book. Sorry.
That's okay. If you have a book, say that too.
No, Dean Graziosi right now is reading The Underdog Advantage by Dean Graziosi. So that's a pretty cool book, because it delves into like the underdog mentality, and how nobody's ever going to think you're going to make it. So, and you come up winning in the end all the time. So yeah, that's a really good book. And
okay.
Oh man, yeah,
good. What is your favorite Friday night at home?
Let's see. Favorite Friday night at home is, I guess just being together with my family, and like, watching a movie, just being together.
Yes. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. What was your dream job as a kid?
As a kid? Oh my gosh. I think I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid.
I love that.
That's what I was thinking of, I think.
That's so cool. Are you still into astronomy and things like that, or it just you wanted to travel? And that's so cool.
No, I've always had these weird dreams about like the stars chasing me. I don't know. It's weird.
That is so neat. No, I love that. That's so cool. Okay. Tell me the next vacation that you're planning.
Next vacation I'm planning probably be to Tucson. We love Arizona. We have some family down there. And so yeah, Tucson is going to be a nice place to go.
Cool. So tell me your best advice to help our listeners live with audacity.
Just don't listen to the naysayers. If you really feel in your heart that you want to do something and that you're passionate about, just go for it, because nobody cares. you know,
Truly.
nobody really cares. They start caring when they start seeing you.
And what's funny is, you said nobody cares. That's true, because even if people do talk about you, they're going to talk about you regardless of what you're doing or not doing. So you might as well just give them something to talk about, right? Like,
yeah. And really, we
just
don't
do
really
it.
care about those people that are going to talk about us anyway.
Exactly. I love
Yeah.
that. So
Do
where
your
can people
thing.
where can people find you to get more information?
So I have a couple videos on YouTube just about mindset and like when I first realized that everything was a lie that I was taught. So I started that, and I want to continue with that route because I think YouTube's going to become, it is already, but it's huge. And I do for
What's
some
your
reason
channel?
it's just Irene Elbie. It's just Irene Elbie.
Okay, perfect.
And I do have a Facebook page, and it's Irene Elbie as well. It's just my name. And I do have an Instagram account, but okay, I'm old school. So technology and me, we're like, we tolerate each other.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm still learning a whole lot of things. But I did get on TikTok and get this. So this weird thing happened. I don't know why it happened or when it happened, but my son, so I have a son, my oldest son, he's 29. And he's been yapping at me to get on TikTok. And then I got on and I checked out what it was. I mean, it's hilarious. It's funny, but I'm like, I can't do TikTok. There's no way I can do that. So he's like, no, there's a lot of kids on TikTok. And I always said, because I was a teenage mom, so I always said that if I knew somebody that would tell me what I knew now, I would definitely listen to that person. And so I started a TikTok account, and I started talking to teenage moms, and I'm going to start telling them, or I already did, but it's all about mindset. I told them to look into it, and there's just a couple of videos. So I'm on TikTok.
Yeah.
And
cool.
It's
and what's
Irene,
your name on TikTok?
It's Irene Elbie. Irene Elbie.
Everywhere. Love it.
Yeah, just Irene Elbie. And
okay,
so,
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun. I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait to see everything that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, and thank you for your interest. And yeah, I hope we can edit some stuff out.
Definitely.
But thanks anyway. I really appreciate your time, Melissa.
Hey, y'all. I had to jump in here real quick because I need a favor. If you are loving the Live with Audacity podcast, I need you to do me a big, solid favor and share it with your friends, share it on social media, and go to the Apple iTunes link and click subscribe, rate it, review it. I need to know your feedback, and I want to keep putting this out for you, so I really need your help to get the message out. Thank you so much for your loyalty and your super kind and sweet words. They mean so terribly much to me.